if Trump does not get in, I think that's the end of the country. I think it's, I hope not. I hope America is better than that. But we need a strong leader. And right now, we do not have any leaders. We don't even have a country. I mean, can you imagine if the UK here opened up their borders and just let anybody in? And 10 million people came across the border in the next couple of years? What would happen to the UK? It'd be over.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
What we need right now in the White House is we need kind of like an alpha male that can get in there, knows what he's doing, and Donald Trump knows what he's doing. He's already been there. He knows how to fix things and has a great track record.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
What do you remember about the accident?
Very little. I remember it happening. That's about it.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
And also publicly been trying out there to get people to know that, you know what, we're not crazy people.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I've met a lot of trans people. That shouldn't be surprising. I am a trans person myself, and it's nice to have a community of people who understand what you're going through and the unique struggles of transitioning within a society that would really much rather you didn't. Frankly, a society that would prefer you throw yourself off Clifton Suspension Bridge than even take a whiff of any hormone that your genitals didn't pump directly into your bloodstream.
Where do you get your testosterone from? I get it from my balls.
But I digress. I've lived in quite a few cities in the past 10 years, and I've met a few trans people in all of them. Most of them are lovely. Some of the nicest people you've ever met. They're caring, compassionate, have a strong sense of justice and empathy, and when you're not with them, you can't wait until the next time you can shoot the shit. Some trans people are not that.
I'm loving it. We got him on the run. This is about money, power, and who's in control of the information flow here in our country. I am 100% behind Elon Musk and what he's doing.
This is the case with every group of people that has ever existed. Some doctors are assholes. Some executioners are probably a really good hang. Every conceivable grouping of people you could possibly come up with has all sorts of people in it. Some of them incredible. Some of them assholes.
I get it from my balls.
When someone is an asshole, however, in most circumstances, and just hear me out here, it wouldn't be right to use their assholery as an excuse to discriminate against them. If you're the kind of person that would use a racial slur against someone who was a dick to you, the fact that they were a knobhead doesn't mean that you weren't just racist. And most people, understandably, would look at you sideways for that. Maybe that's an extreme example, but when that sort of thing happens, it reveals something about you. Namely, that you believe that that slur is an acceptable thing to say in response to someone being an asshole. It is your belief, subconsciously, if not consciously, that you have the right to discriminate against someone openly and audibly because of their race, if they have wronged you. It follows, then, that you don't actually think of the other person in this scenario as equal to you. You think they should be treated equally to you up until the point in which they piss you off, at which point all the rules of decorum go out the window and discrimination becomes an acceptable retaliation.
If Hillary becomes president, the country is over. Fix immigration, you can't fix the economy.
Now, there are things that are discriminatory that are nowhere near as bad as that, of course. But the same logic stands. Sometimes it's useful to use an extreme example to get you in the right headspace. If you know that something is discriminatory, and you use it as a jab against someone, you are demonstrating, at the very least, a lack of respect for not just the person you are targeting, but all people that share the characteristic you have deemed to be something worthy of scorn once they cross you.
My balls.
I've met a lot of trans people. Most trans people are lovely. Some trans people are assholes. I do not misgender or deadname those assholes, because I do not believe that transness is something that can magically be taken away from someone if they've not been a good enough person to deserve it.
I have decided, after little thought, to return your genders.
A trans woman who's an arsehole is still a woman. Their pronouns are still their pronouns and their name is still their name. I don't go from saying, say, John is alright to June is an arsehole. I go from saying John is alright to saying John's an arsehole. To not do that would be admitting that you see gendering someone correctly and using their name as a favour you are doing for them. Something you're humouring them with. Only doing out of politeness or a sense of social obligation. If you discard that when someone wrongs you, you demonstrate that you believe a trans person that's a bit of a dick should be treated the same way that the religious right treats trans people. Like deranged freaks who are cross-dressing for a sick thrill, and whose game you will entertain no longer.
We couldn't use female language, and people knew exactly what we meant. Like, women were beginning to be told that we had to put cis in front of our name.
So why am I talking about this? Well, Caitlyn Jenner's back in the spotlight, as you might expect, given that Donald Trump just got elected for a second attempt at turning the United States of America into the McReich. And that arsehole's been trying to get into politics for years.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy.
At first, she did it by appealing to other trans people and trying to make out like she'd gotten more liberal since the transition.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
I'm not a big fan.
And then she made it clear she was willing to throw all trans people under the bus to get a shot at real political power.
What's going on in Washington, D.C. is just disgraceful. The hate, the media, all the things that are going on there. Honestly, I just don't even want to be involved in that.
A few moments later.
It is now official. Caitlyn Jenner is running for governor of California. Jenner is, of course, a former Olympic decathlete and one of the stars of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Of course, she never got that power because she tried to become a Republican politician as a trans woman. And the Republicans have decided to make half their platform chucking holy water at trans people and trying to work out the most cost-efficient way of flying us directly into the surface of the sun.
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders.
But for all of her faults, she is still a woman. She still changed her name. I do not respect Caitlyn Jenner, but I don't deadname her. It's pretty simple. Caitlyn Jenner, say it with me, can fuck off. She should retire from politics and be banned from social media so that we never have to hear from her again. She should be in jail for killing that guy, maybe, if she did it, allegedly.
Worst case scenario, you could spend a year in a county jail. Have you been able to even think about that?
The media wants that picture, don't they?
Her family is a blight upon the face of this earth. Caitlyn Jenner will never see the light of heaven. You see, it's not that difficult. You can still be an arsehole to them without being an arsehole to the entirety of the trans community by proxy. In fact, it's easier. All you have to do is continue doing what you were doing. The thing is, though, there are a lot of so-called sensible liberals and even leftists out there that don't seem to have gotten that memo. And frankly, it's annoying as shit. And you know what's most annoying about this whole situation? You forced me, Bridget Empire, science and culture correspondent for ancient cursed tome The Daily Telegraph, a newspaper that cannot be perceived by the naked eye, lest the reader turn to ash, to defend Caitlyn goddamn Jenner. It's fucking 2025, man. We're not starting off the year at a high point, are we? On January the 20th, 2024, after presumably being snubbed for an invite to the presidential inauguration for being too icky for the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the several other billionaire aliens in skin suits masquerading as human beings, Caitlyn Jenner posted a short congratulations to Donald Trump on Twitter. Or more accurately, congratulations, Mr. President, thanks be to God! American flag emoji, American flag emoji, American flag emoji! Now, I, like most of you I imagine, recognise that Caitlyn Jenner bigging up Trump even after all of these years, long after she agreed to humiliate herself in the public forum for his benefit and he threw her aside anyway, is pathetic. Any trans person voting for Trump, never mind actively endorsing him and praising him in public, is, well, turkeys voting for Christmas. Or it would be if Caitlyn Jenner wasn't one of them Kardashians, and therefore, owing to her massive wealth, fame and connections, will be immune to any and all attacks on trans people due to this status, unless Trump decides to repeat what his German counterparts did in the 20th century eventually, and does an American Night of the Long Knives to wipe out any followers that don't fit with the image of the America he wants to portray. I guess because this is America we're talking about, it would be more aptly named the Night of the Long Guns? Let's go with that.
Balls.
Look, even her Trump support aside, I hate Caitlyn Jenner. She's a conservative activist, I guess a fascist activist now, is openly hateful, and will throw the community that gave her a new lease on life under the bus for a speck of clout from some of the worst people on the planet. And that's not even mentioning the fact that she probably them with a car and just, got away with it. And yet, I still call her Caitlyn Jenner, because that's her name. For all of her faults, we shouldn't be deadnaming her. If you believe that you should only respect trans people's names and gender as long as they agree with you politically, you are no ally to the community. In fact, you're kind of the opposite. You're signaling to every trans person, even those on your side, that your support is entirely conditional. That you don't agree we are who we say we are, and that if we dare step out of line at any point, we will have any grace taken away from us, and the bigotry will resume. Almost like you never stopped being bigoted, and inside your head you were just waiting for the opportune moment to let it all come out.
Where do you get your testosterone from? I get it from my balls.
Did that sound unfair? Well, it shouldn't. I get that people don't know the correct etiquette. People are angry, and they lash out. Things are hard right now. And sometimes people say things they might not necessarily say if they were calm and collected. Funny thing though, why did those words come out of your mouth? Or your keyboard, depending on where the dead name takes place. Why is that the thing you say when you want to express your frustration with someone? If a gay person pissed you off, would you call them a slur? I hope not. If you did, I'd assume, and I think you would too, that you're homophobic. So why is it that when a trans person, even one as reprehensible as Caitlyn Jenner, acts like an arsehole, your first instinct isn't to talk to them like you would any other person, but to denigrate them for being trans? To push on those same buttons that those you've claimed to despise also do. To target them for who they are, rather than for the dogshit awful things they've done. And why is it that I'm seeing so many people who claim to be on our side doing things like this? Like, for example, do you want to know how people responded to Caitlyn Jenner once again showing her ass on X.com, the everything app? Well, they responded by showing, whether intentionally or not, that they actually don't give a shit about trans people at all. One wrong move, and the most kindly, gentler politics liberal centrist will show themselves for a transphobe in a polite disguise. Some of these people, I think, genuinely believe they want good things for us. But if this is how you confront a pick-me, you're just going to end up pissing off everyone else in the community, including the people you claim to want to help, the people who you need to support you back. You rupture the possibility for solidarity. And for what? For a cheap dig? This stuff doesn't help. It only makes you more isolated, and at a time when now more than ever we need a united front to confront a growing fascist takeover. We need more solidarity and less of the, sense that you couldn't now get away with doing transphobia, but righteously. As if transphobia being targeted at a Trump supporter is any less transphobic. For example, so what is your gender, Caitlyn? Has Trump issued an EO to rename you yet? That's kind of you, Deadname. I assume this is what you voted for, right, sir? Cry laughing emoji. Mr. President salutes you, Mr. Jenner. Deadname, what bathroom do you use? I don't want you around my daughter or my son. It's not because of your trans. Really, no one cares. It's because you support adults and minors. That makes you sus. Thanks, Deadname. Fuck off, Deadname, you freak. According to Trump, you're a man. Deadnamezilla is your pronoun. Sure you want to thank your god? Sorry, your president's laws, not mine, shrug emoji. Thanks be to God. Sir, go get your dick and balls reattached. Your buddy Trump says you're a man again, you fucking sideshow freak. Don't thank him too loudly. Your time as Caitlyn is coming to an end. Now, some of these things are not exactly at the same level as the others, obviously. But even the comments that aren't explicitly calling Caitlyn Jenner a degenerate freak for being trans are still engaging in transphobia. Except they think they're using it as a gotcha. Like the kind of people that thought it was open season to be Islamophobic once it turned out that Dearborn, Michigan didn't in fact turn out in droves to vote for someone committed to unlimited from their extended family. These times make people act out. But we can be pissed off without lashing out at communities that are some of those that are going to be most hurt by the policies that Caitlyn Jenner endorses. Or, in fewer words, as Versace put it in the same comment section, I want y'all to be mindful that no matter how weird Caitlyn is, your transphobic jokes and her replies are more likely to be seen by your trans friends and mutuals than her. And yeah, I fucking seen them. And I'm gonna remember. But this doesn't mean everyone who is doing this is doing it with some sort of a single-minded hatred. Most people just don't know how this works, especially if they have no trans friends, and sometimes people slip up. It happens. But if you're calling Caitlyn her dead name, calling her a freak, or implying that she's not really trans and that she deserves that because she's a dipshit conservative, well, then you are doing it with single-minded hatred. There's just no way around that. On the lower rung of fuckery are the well-intentioned, or at least not actively hostile, liberals and left-leaning people who use Caitlyn's dead name to try and raise alarm about the policies she's helped champion. This is also bad, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 6 or a 7 compared to the 9 and 10 we just read from in the previous section. And I want to give grace to people who misunderstand or who are ignorant and want to learn and do better. And I'd hope if I fucked up in a similar way that they'd give me the same grace, but the instinct from a lot of people, when you imply to them that they fucked up, is to get extremely defensive. Sometimes even double down or lean into the backlash themselves. I get it, things are stressful right now. But we need to be able to listen to each other, learn from when we fuck up, and listen when other people raise concerns. That's how we grow as people. That's how we learn to be more empathetic and more understanding. And I honestly don't see how we can build solidarity without being able to listen, to take critique, and to learn from that. To see everyone as people equally worth listening to means to be willing to sit your ass down and accept that you might have fucked up every now and again. Anyone that thinks you can build a leftist momentum while pandering to the anti-woke outrage merchants is fundamentally misguided, in my opinion. And yes, I wrote this before the Ash Sarkar book tour came out. My opinion still stands. You can't build solidarity if you're not willing to accept people of all different backgrounds. Your maximum ceiling for a movement in that case is just straight white men with no friends outside of that demographic. And even then, a lot of those people are much more understanding. We don't make progress by shutting out other people's perspectives, even if they might make us a little uncomfortable. We have to be able to meet people where they're at, even if that place is sometimes really fucking stupid, and understand where we're all coming from. And people use that language a lot when they're talking about appealing to a hypothetical bigoted white Trump voter. But the same applies to, say, trans people worried about healthcare bans and getting sent to die in prison. Black people's experience of police brutality and the ridiculous rates of incarceration they face. Working class people of all backgrounds worrying about being able to afford rent or groceries. These are all perspectives we should be listening to. If you can only stand to listen to one group, especially if that's the group you most closely align with, your movement can only get so far. We need to build empathy and understanding across communities, so that we can build connections between them and solidarity throughout. And if that means from time to time you have to hear some weird remark about a salad spinner, so be it. You can put up with that. But then again, that does sound like a lot of hard work. So the Democratic Party and its most loyal soldiers will decidedly not do any of that, apparently. It's shitty when, say, someone I've watched for years, like Mighty Keith, uses Caitlyn's dead name in a comment to try and make her understand where she's gone wrong. I understand the intention behind it, but it's still not great. But I forgive that, that's a slip-up. Other people too who made those comments, like, I'll be side-eyeing them for a while, but I still think their hearts are ultimately in the right place. And if I held a grudge against every person who fucked up when it came to addressing trans people, I'd have, maybe 2 friends. So, he wants to make you Deadname again, are you cool with that? Mr. President told her to call you Deadname, by the way. These hurt too, but I can let them slide. I'd give them a single strike and a 3-strike policy. What'll get you your second strike is doubling down and refusing to listen to people who are saying, hey, I think you're cool and all, but maybe don't do that? It's kind of shitty. We all fuck up, but then we have a choice of how we react to people telling us that we fucked up.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Olivia Giuliana is a 22-year-old social media activist working towards, among other things, abortion rights and the Democratic Party election campaign in 2024. The latter apparently having done a number on the way that she reacts to the world around her, as, to be fair, it has to a lot of people.
Every day I wake up
For example, the day before I wrote this, she expressed disdain for people who spent months going after Biden and Kamala and are now horrified with the Trump presidency, not understanding apparently that two things can be bad at the same time, and that in fact we should be criticizing people that are funding and adopting Trump's border policies. And she should be aware of that hypocrisy, given how it was laid bare when she said,
"If you're not at the table, you're on the menu."
On the conference floor of the DNC, where famously that very DNC, Palestinians had been forbidden from speaking. They were, to give her credit,
On the menu.
but given she was saying this as if it made the Democrats look good, I don't think she quite realized that's how that line would hit. She does seem like she's genuinely pro-trans, though, most of the time. So when she made her comments about Caitlyn Jenner, I think she genuinely didn't realize how much of a shitty ally she was going to make herself look. And I think because of the work she's put in, at least in her mind, to help marginalized communities, unless they're Palestinian, she was genuinely hurt by the mild criticism she received for deadnaming Caitlyn Jenner. In her words, "He just ordered the government to call you Deadname," to which she received some pushback, understandably. I'm going to be so real, I completely understand your intention with this tweet, but seeing the transphobia in the replies as a result is so damning, and you should just take this down. Her response to this was, "This is just who they are, and they're putting it on full display. I'm not responsible for other people's actions." And then she followed up with, "I'm not walking on eggshells, or being told to use nicer language anymore. Tiptoeing around the issues is how we ended up with a Republican trifecta. If America wants blunt honesty, I am happy to deliver." And I'm not sure if that is how you got a Republican trifecta. In fact, that seems more of the fault of the presidential candidate that you were so aghast that people attacked for months on account of her saying that she would change nothing for the Biden administration, campaigned with the Cheneys, and continued to fund. Tiptoeing doesn't seem to have had anything to do with it. And if you're implying that people being criticized for deadnaming lost the election, you're just not living in reality. Ditto for those that think woke was the reason that the Corbyn movement lost in Britain. This is an incredibly niche problem for most people. People struggling to pay for food and rent? Well, the number one issue isn't when it's appropriate to deadname someone. But just for clarification, it's never okay, so don't do it. It's actually pretty simple. The doubling down on the vague accusations that trans people are too sensitive, so we helped usher in fascism, is kind of wild. But this is what I mean when I say people are defensive when presented with criticism. We need to learn to take it. We can't go around acting like someone's kicked your puppy when they try and tell you that you might have accidentally said something hurtful. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, it just means that you fucked up. And I think she might be okay. She'll learn, we're just all in a bad place right now. But I wanted to demonstrate both how you can fuck up but not necessarily have horrible intentions, and also the worst way possible to respond to people pointing out that you indeed just did something bad. Aside from, say, what Graham Linehan did and becoming hopelessly obsessed with trans people to the point where you're getting literally cautioned by the police. Like, no one is cancelling you, we're just trying to warn you that that's a shitty thing to do. And if your reaction is to act like people are trying to beat you repeatedly with hammers, maybe you should just, I don't know, lie down for a bit? Like, you can see pretty clearly how deadnaming trans people is used to humiliate both the person in question and the community, by the way that, say, Republican Congress people do it. Sarah McBride, the first openly trans member of Congress in the United States, has been at the receiving end of this kind of public bullying. Now, because she's a Democrat, and a pretty centre-right one at that, she's offered no resistance, no pushback, no nothing. So they just keep doing it. But we should note as a community how when a House Republican introduces Sarah McBride as
the gentleman from Delaware, Mr. McBride, for 5 minutes.
They are indicating that they do not believe that any transition is legitimate. That she will always be labelled with the letter M on her birth certificate. And this is before even that passport shit came out. When we do this for people we disagree with, even if they're terrible, even if they deserve to rot in hell, we are, whether knowingly or not, abiding by the same train of thought. This person is an asshole. Therefore, to me, their transition is no longer real. Or, as the politician in question, Republican Representative Mary Miller said,
"I refuse to deny biological reality."
Now, as a biologist myself, I can tell you that this is bullshit. Trans people are not science deniers. It's just that most people walk around with a kindergarten-level understanding of the biology of sex, gender, hormones, and all that jazz. But those of us who take away the right for someone to go by a new name and pronouns because they might be a bit of a dickhead, fundamentally, they're tipping their hat to that same line of reasoning. I've had people in the past use the fact that they supported me as a trans woman to try and persuade me to side with them in an argument or in a fallout, or to try and cajole me into agreeing with them when they're clearly in the wrong. And this feels like a similar argument to me, recognizing our lived reality as transactional to a lot of people. And if we piss them off, well, then that support can be taken away just as easily as it was given. And in my experience, the people that insist we should go along with them because they supported us are sometimes pretty transphobic behind closed doors too. We shouldn't need to be perfect angels to deserve to be treated as who we are. Sometimes marginalized people are assholes, but that doesn't make their identities any less real. And just as you wouldn't demand a gay person who upsets you is no longer allowed to love who they love, or for a less out there example, a married person doesn't get their name change revoked when they upset you, and their title change taken away, someone being a piece of shit shouldn't result in your first instinct being to take away their name and gender until they play nice. If you think that way, then you probably aren't as supportive as you like to think you are.
I'm a fierce Brock ally.
But this would be a much easier thing to persuade people who want to help us to do if we didn't have certain pick-me's trying to egg on this behaviour. And by that I mean people like trans comedian and professional bad sake haver Stacy Cay handing out Deadname passes on Twitter to cis people who want an excuse to be transphobic and can now say they have permission. This is arguably even shittier behaviour because she knows exactly what she's doing and how much this hurts other trans people. I truly don't understand what someone gets out of this, apart from getting some kudos from some of the worst people on the internet for being one of the good ones, which never works. And you don't even have to look at the career trajectory of Caitlyn Jenner to look at that. Look at the career trajectory of Brianna Wu. That's not a path any of us should be looking to walk.
I used to think you were completely full of shit when you talked about cancel culture, and now they've run this playbook on me.
So for any people who think that this gives them permission, let me make it clear. You do not have a Deadname pass, no matter how many minor internet personalities tried to give you one. Trans people are still going to look at you and bare minimum think you're someone to watch out for, if not just outright suspect you're a transphobe. Don't do it. Yes, Caitlyn Jenner is an awful person, but deadnaming her just implies you don't think trans people exist. If a status as a woman can be taken away for being too disagreeable, well then, it never existed for you to start with. Think about it. And thanks for watching.
Where do you get your testosterone from? I get it from my balls.
Hey, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you liked it, give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe, tell your friends, share it, and boost it in the algorithm. And if you have some coin, Khajiit does like it. Where did that come from? Oh my god. Anyway, I have less money than I need, so you can help me out of that dilemma by giving one-time donations on Coffee or PayPal, links below as always, or sign up to my Patreon. And if you do, you get early videos, access to the members in your Discord. My name is Fritch code. You can work that out. And exclusive content. And especially cool, you get your name read out at the end of each video, just like these lovely people. Lee Wilkins, George Geddes, Kira B, No Sparkling Heart, Corey, Matt J, Mighty than the Sword, Carolyn, Imogen Q, Luciano Frias Andrade, Adam, Harry, Endog191, Cav, Quesadilla de Tortilla Azul, Leon, Adam Lees, Daniel Nevels, No Not That Paul, MB, Madeline Aguirre, Ben Murphy, Lex Phoenix, Endel Curtisitz, Mira D, Jade Senior, Boa Ear, James W, Marva and Orr, Thoron Gill, Bob the Builder, 5445554, Deborah Laboon, Vegas, Zillas Athenaeum, Vince Whitaker, Amelia Lassette, Jason Haig, Frank McManus, Susan Foster, Helena Real, Sierra Whiskey, Orestria, Ali Catgill, John N, Lloyd Luciente, Jason Cribbett, Shield Daden, Robin Podolsky, Turtle Tune, Casual Observer, Manta Ray, Courtney Burmack, Sleepy Slug, Philippa Tabrogga, Soma Piglet, Brain Douche, Artie Wolf, Greg Noble, Deanna McMillan, Caroline Regalado, Alexandra Lily, Howard Lot, Narani Escarjan, and Joey Cobalt. Thank you and God bless.